I shared this motivational triad that you see behind me with a client this morning, and I thought that it would be helpful for you too. Let me give you a little background. My client is working with a new client who's just a little bit of a stretch outside of her comfort zone, right? Something that she's done before, but this is a new up level to the projects that she's done, and she's feeling scared and a little bit unsure, having some confusion about what she's going to do and how she's going to work with this client. And I shared with her the motivational triad that you see behind me that I learned from my mentor, Brooke Castillo, founder of the Life Coach School. So, and it's really important as entrepreneurs that we all understand what's going on in our brain, because managing your brain is the number one skill that you need as an entrepreneur. Because if, for example, you are working for somebody, you have a job, you have an employer tells you what to do, and you go to work and you do the thing. And that's kind of the way we've all been raised. Like, we go to school, our teacher gives us an assignment, and we know what we're supposed to do, and we are graded on our performance. Now, when we go out and decide to open up our own business for whatever reason, like, that's something that we're not habituated to do. We don't know how to do it. And it brings up a lot of new and scary situations for us. And if we let our brain like go off into confusion and fear and doubt about all of those new experiences and scary things that are going on in our business, and maybe we're going to fail, and maybe people are going to laugh at us or reject us, that's going to keep us safe and small, and you won't get visible. But anyway, let me go back to the motivational triad, because it's important to understand how your primitive brain is wired. And it was wired this way so that we would stay safe back in the day when we lived in caves or we were hunter-gatherers. And your brain is wired for three things: to seek pleasure, to avoid pain, and to be efficient, right? To stay safe, to be efficient, because you never know when you're out there in the wild what's going to happen. So let's just talk about seeking pleasure. Seeking pleasure, which we kind of know about these days, like eating and scrolling and doing all these very easy, fun things that give us, eating chocolate, right? Gives us that dopamine hit, right? That's what we know how to do. And back in the day, seeking pleasure had us learning how to figure out how to make a fire to keep us warm, right? We need to eat. Eating is pleasureful, right? So we had to go and we had to capture the animals. And let's say you were raising wheat. You had to figure out how to like grind the wheat and how to make grape juice, like from grapes. And these were all pleasurable experiences, but we had to work in order to do them. But eating and sleeping and keeping warm and having, other people connecting with human beings and being part of a tribe is also pleasurable, and it's safe. And having intimacy with your partner is also something that's pleasing and pleasurable. And of course, it helps the human species continue and we procreate that way. But these are all things that our brain, our primitive brain, is wired to do. And then there is avoiding pain, right? We had to run away from animals who might attack us, and that would be very painful. So our brain is wired not to just like freeze if an animal is coming after us, but to run away, right? And our brain wants to avoid the pain of hunger. So even though we might have to like run after an animal in order to catch it, we have to go and do the thing that maybe our primitive brain would be like, oh, it seems like a lot of work to go running after that deer. I think I'm just going to stay here and look for berries, right? Or when it comes to looking for berries, like we had to know the difference between what was poisonous and what wasn't poisonous. So in order to avoid the pain of death or a stomach upset, we also had to know what we were going to avoid. Now, if you're an entrepreneur and you have to make a proposal or make offers to potential clients or customers, it can be very painful for them to say no. Or maybe you'll do some bad work from your client and you're going to feel like, oh, I'm a failure. I did that. I messed that up, right? So that fear of being judged or rejected or even failing, you just have to understand that your brain is wired to avoid pain, and feeling that is like, it's very normal that you don't want to feel it. And if you're not willing to open yourself up and expose yourself to potential pain or discomfort, you're going to keep yourself small as an entrepreneur. And the last thing that your brain is wired to do is it's wired to keep you safe and efficient. Because again, if you need your energy to run away from an enemy tribe, or if you need your energy to run away from an animal or run after an animal, or if you're planting the fields, right? You need to be able to dig and till the soil and plant all of your seeds. And then you have to go and water them. If you live near, I guess, the rivers, wait for the rain. You have to harvest them. Like, this is back-breaking work that our ancestors did. And so we want to be very, very efficient, which, by the way, is why when the sun went down, once upon a time, before we had like computers and electricity, we went to sleep because our body needed a lot of rest. It still needs rest. We just don't give it as much rest as we should be giving it. Anyway, but we need to be efficient and conserve our energy for the things that really matter in our life for our long-term survival. And obviously the survival of our species and survival for thousands and thousands of years. And even if you think about it, survival, building houses, like that takes a lot of work. Wouldn't it be easier to just take like a bear skin and pitch a tent, right? But it's going to be a lot more pleasurable if we actually build a house. We can actually keep the heat inside the house, and that becomes a new process that we learn to do, build houses over time. So what happens when you're an entrepreneur? There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of new experiences, like things that you haven't done before. And this is where my client was. Something she knew how to do, something she's going to have to do a lot of Googling and researching in order to help her client and serve her client in the best way. And so your brain wants to keep you safe and be efficient and say, like, I don't know, and be in doubt and confusion. And that feels very, very unsettling in your mind and in your body. Right. So what we discussed today is like, take all of that like mushy soup kind of stuff in your brain and do a brain dump down on paper and put down all the things that your brain is telling you, including that, like, I don't know, right? I don't know how to do this. And then we broke some of it down and said, yeah, but you can YouTube that, like you can Google that, right? And so what I said to her, when your brain gives you this optional sentence in your mind, I don't know. So you can ask it, well, what do I know, right? Because asking your brain a question forces your brain to answer. So if there was something you wanted to do, like let's say you want to make a cake and you said like, I don't know how to make a cake, right? You'd say, well, what do I know? Oh, I know I need sugar. I know I need flour. I know I need eggs. I know I need oil. If I want to make a chocolate cake, I need cocoa. I know that I have some recipe books on my shelves. I know I could Google, right? And so then all of a sudden it becomes a lot clearer. Oh, the only thing we need to do is decide which cake we're going to make. Oh, well, I can Google chocolate cake and, Google the best chocolate cake recipe of 2021. And now I know how to make a cake. Or once I have the ingredients, I can look in my pantry and I can see what's missing. But oftentimes the first thought your brain offers is, I don't know. And as an entrepreneur, we have to learn how to really manage our brains, manage our mind, and deal with all of the doubt and the confusion that comes up. Okay, so wherever you are in your business, all of that fear of rejection, that doubt, like doing new things when your brain is like, I don't know what to do, that's all normal. But you chose this job, you chose this career for a reason. Like really work on reminding yourself on purpose why you're doing what you're doing, because you can't always go and find a job. Right? Especially now, in Israel where I live, there is a lot of hiring going on, right? So if you wanted a job, probably could find one, right? And then somebody else could tell you what to do, and you don't have to deal with the doubt and the confusion all the time and the fear of rejection, because you'll have your job. But you chose being an entrepreneur for a reason. So welcome in all of this. It's all 100% normal, right? And that's what I said to her, like when your brain wants to offer you all that stuff, just be like, oh, thank you for offering me that today, right? I know you're trying to keep me safe, but I'm not going to listen to you right now because I've got work to do. All right. That's my tip for you today on Thursday. If you have any questions, put it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.